So, folks, we gotta talk about Pete Hegseth because Pete Hegseth went on just a wild tear today, purging multiple high ranking members of the US military. Um, believe it brings the number of generals purged from the military up to 11. And yeah, but today he fired the army chief, General Randy George, which, my God, what a name. What a name for a guy. Just Randy George. Not a pejorative, that's just his name. Okay? Anyway, yeah, so he fired this guy, and the New York Times put together this piece. And it's a fairly good piece, talking about what Randy George has done in his time, but this is out of character because typically what happens here is the army chief serves out 4-year terms. So this guy was appointed in 2023. Typically, he would have served out a term until 2027, but that didn't happen. Now, why didn't that happen? Well, basically, the New York Times points to the fact that it wasn't due to any failure in his duties, but rather to differences over the direction of the army. In particular, grievances over how the army handles personnel issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, we could list off a bunch of the issues that Pete Hegseth has with the army, but I'm going to boil it down real simple, like, for you guys. And the simple explanation is that Pete Hegseth is a white nationalist, right? And one of Pete Hegseth's pet projects has been to essentially reimpose a kind of soft segregation of the US military. One of the things, and the difference of opinion between Pete Hegseth and General George was essentially that Pete Hegseth wanted General George to prevent the promotion of 4 different people to the rank of general. And those 4 people, 2 of them were black, 2 of them were women. And essentially, Pete Hegseth does not want women or minorities climbing the ranks of the US military. I mean, like, that's really what it boils down to here, right? And the New York Times talks about that. Hegseth clashed in recent months with General George and Mr. Driscoll, here the Army Secretary Daniel P. Driscoll, over the Defense Secretary's decision to block the promotion of 4 Army officers to 1-star generals. And essentially, like, General George is portrayed throughout a lot of the coverage of him in the media here as someone who is like, you know, if someone has done their time and has served well and honorably, they deserve to, like, be promoted just like anybody else would be. And Pete Hegseth just thinks that just thinks that, like, if you are not a white man, you should not be climbing the ranks. Two of the officers targeted by Mr. Hegseth are black, and 2 are women on a promotion list that consisted of 29 other officers, most of whom are white men. Like, it's not even subtle. It's just straight up, he's a racist. Now, also of note here, and this got a little bit less press, okay, is that Laura Loomer is the first to break this story last week. And apparently she posted that Pete Hegseth was considering removing General George last week, and Laura Loomer has been instrumental in attacking and degrading Army Secretary Driscoll. Loomer seems to be someone who's kind of moving and shaking things in the background, as if she's kind of like someone who has a nebulous and ill-defined power over the administration. Another aspect of this story, because it does get weirder, is this element, which does not really get described in detail in the rest of the piece. It's just like one sentence. Mr. Hegseth also fired Major General William Green Jr., the Army's top chaplain. In any other universe, firing the top chaplain of the US military, US Army, rather, would be considered like a career-ending event, right? Especially fired for no reason, right? Like we're talking no reason given, he's just fired. Now, would any of you like to take a guess as to what Major General William Green Jr. looks like? If you guessed that he was non-white, you would be correct. It's just white nationalism. It's white nationalism, plain and obvious. It's naked white nationalism without the Klan hood. You know, it's depressing to constantly see these awful, evil things happening.
Racist, sexist, Republican. These words are virtually interchangeable.
Thanks, PragerU. Also today, Pete Hegseth went on to fire another general, David Hodna, the head of the U.S. Army's Transformation and Training Command. In the span of just today, Pete Hegseth has fired two of the top military leaders in the country and the head of the U.S. Army's chaplains. It doesn't stop there. It keeps getting worse because the guy who is going to replace General George, I keep wanting to call him Randy George, General George, for the sake of professionalism. Well, he's the vice chief of the Army. And for those of you who don't know who that is, well, would it surprise you guys to learn that the vice chief of the Army right now was appointed by Pete Hegseth a month ago? Would it surprise any of you to know that this guy was handpicked by Pete Hegseth and is reportedly someone who is very on board with
if only these
irresponsible violence?
Actually had people who truly loved them. But alas, the need for hating people for things they can't control or religion is too much.
Indeed. Indeed. Thank you for the $10 super chat attack on Pony Productions. Very much appreciated. Sounds pre-planned. It does sound pre-planned. To an extent that I'm just kind of like, part of this shakeup seems to me centered around the idea that there are perhaps some institutional barriers within the US military that are putting up some kind of resistance to ever worsening orders coming from the top, from Pete Hegseth, from Donald Trump. And it makes me deeply worried about where this entire conflict is going to go, right? Especially, this is all happening during a war with Iran. Like, Pete Hegseth is firing generals left and right while we are in a state of war. Not only that, guys, this isn't the only insane thing that Pete Hegseth has done today. I'm going to play for you guys a 2-minute video that Pete Hegseth uploaded earlier today. And let's see how this goes over for you guys.
Our great republic was founded on a simple yet bold idea. Our rights as citizens are not granted to us by government, but instead by God. 250 years ago, the Revolutionary War was fought to secure our God-given rights. The Second Amendment to our Constitution enshrines the right of all citizens to carry weapons to protect themselves, their families, and their fellow countrymen. The War Department's uniformed service members are trained at the highest and unwavering standards. These warfighters, entrusted with the safety of our nation, are no less entitled to exercise their God-given right to keep and bear arms than any other American. Our warfighters defend the right of others to carry. They should be able to carry themselves. Recent events like what happened at Fort Stewart, Holloman Air Force Base, or Pensacola Naval Air Station have made clear that some threats are closer to home than we would like. In these instances, minutes are a lifetime, and our service members have the courage and training to make those precious short minutes count. Before today, it was virtually impossible. Most people probably don't know this. It was virtually impossible for War Department personnel to get permission to carry and store their own personal weapons aligned with the state laws where we operate our installations. I mean, effectively, our bases across the country were gun-free zones. Unless you're training or unless you are a military policeman, you couldn't carry, you couldn't bring your own firearm for your own personal protection onto post.
Oh, he wants soldiers to carry while among the public? No. He wants to allow soldiers to bring their personal firearms onto military bases. That's what he wants to allow them to do. He wants every member of the military who has a personal firearm to be able to bring it onto the military base.
Well, that's no longer. The memo I'm signing today directs installation commanders to allow requests for personal protection to carry a privately owned firearm, with the presumption that it is necessary for personal protection. If a request is for some reason denied, the reason for that denial will be in writing and will explain in detail the basis for that direction. Again, the presumption is service members will be able to have their Second Amendment right on post. Not all enemies are foreign, nor are they all outside our borders. Some are domestic. Confirming your God-given right to self-protection is what I'm signing into action today, and I'm proud to do so.
Wow. So brave. So cool. Also, worth noting, now I don't know if this was intentional or not. Pete Hegseth signed this memo to allow people on military bases, allow soldiers on military bases to carry their own personal firearms. Again, April 2nd. Now, for those who are unaware, April 2nd is associated with private weapons on military bases in a terribly tragic way. Specifically, back in 2014, on April 2nd, there was a mass shooting on a military base known as Fort Hood. I don't know if this was planned or like just an unfortunate coincidence, but literally the Fort Hood shooting, which resulted in 5 people dead, over a dozen people injured, was a result of someone having a private firearm on a military base. This shit happens way too much to believe it wasn't loudly intentional. I think it's also intentional. The administration is just evil, Again, the idea that, if we just give all of the soldiers more unregulated and unoverseen guns, it'll make military bases safer. What are you talking about? How does everyone having a weapon on hand make the base safer against, mass shooters and whatnot? This is actually insane to me. Now, no longer can the people who actually are defending military bases identify who is and is not a threat based on who's carrying a weapon. If you thought, well, at least people are on patrol, they'll catch somebody who's up to no good. Now they can't do that because they're just going to see somebody carrying a weapon and it's just oh, are you up to no good? Oh, no, it's okay. I'm just open carrying on the base because Pete Hegseth let us do it. Anyway, can you direct me to the place where all the secret files are stored? I need to make sure it's safe. This is fucking nuts. It's nuts. And not only that, it is all happening on the same day. The same fucking day that Donald Trump announces what his priorities are gonna be for the 2027 budget. And you guys aren't going to believe it. You guys aren't going to believe it. So Donald Trump is slipping at all the polls. People are struggling in the economy. Things are going terribly in the war in Iran. It's the least popular war that's ever been fought. And people can't manage to pay for food. They're struggling to pay for gas. Give the rich more tax breaks? Buckle up, folks. According to Bloomberg, President Donald Trump is preparing to release a fiscal year 2027 budget plan on Friday that will frame his party's midterm election message around A massive defense buildup partially paid for by cuts to domestic agencies. That's right, folks. Donald Trump is going to take Republicans into the midterms while trying to convince Americans that cutting Medicare and Social Security and various other programs and agencies that facilitate them in order to spend more money on the military is the way to go. They are cutting healthcare for war spending. That is the proposal. Worth noting that if Democrats win the election, that budget is fucking dead in the water. So, in case you needed to give Democrats more ammunition and make it easier and easier for them to win in the upcoming elections, like, a vote for Democrats is a vote to make sure you keep your health care. A vote for Democrats is a vote for making sure that your Mima can keep getting her medication. A vote for Democrats is a vote for not immiserating your life so that Lockheed Martin can make another $1 trillion in profit. It's genuinely insane. Like, any Democrat worth their salt will campaign on killing this budget immediately and keeping the government shut down until a sane budget can be introduced. Like, this is all just this is malarkey. And it gets worse, by the way. It gets worse. I know it sounds like it couldn't possibly get worse. It does get worse, okay? The budget won't address entitlement programs like Social Security and Medicare, which remain popular across party lines, but are mostly responsible for driving up future spending levels, according to a person familiar with the plans. As a result, the 2027 proposal is not expected to include 10-year deficit projections, meaning the White House won't offer a full picture on how it projects the president's policies add to future deficits. So basically, they just, for this particular budget plan, they're just not going to give any projections on how it would affect how much debt the country has. They're basically going to try and sell this idea. Yeah, they plan on lying to everyone. They plan on lying to everyone and omitting data that they know would absolutely damn their budget proposal, which already on its face is damned and condemned to fail, right? It's insane. It's insane. This is the party that used to pride itself on fiscal responsibility, and now they're just like, yeah, no. What, fiscally responsible? I don't know her. Never seen her before in my life. Who is she? Fiscal? I never met her. Yeah, it's really, really bad. Trump has said he's seeking to boost defense spending to $1.5 trillion. He wants to add over $500 billion to defense spending. I need you guys to understand there is no way for him to make that amount of money without cutting Medicaid and Medicare. There is no way. And they've already cut Medicaid. They already cut it. There's genuinely no reason to double the military budget. There's no reason to do this. Senate GOP, isn't that fucking dumb? I mean, genuinely, this is the kind of shit that makes someone so unbelievably unpopular, even within their own party. If Democrats win the House and Senate, there is a very real possibility a budget like this could lead to him actually being impeached and convicted. Especially with the level of popularity he's at, especially as Republicans start looking at 2028. Like, we're talking like this could absolutely obliterate the Republican Party. It is a very real possibility. And keep in mind, a lot of Donald Trump's projection for the previous budget was based on tariffs offsetting the cost of essentially siphoning up everything for the US military. Wait, isn't that a good thing? It is a good thing if it results in like the Republican Party being destroyed. It's just that understand that it's scary to even have this being put into the ether right now, you know? I think almost all of the GOP is going to ride or die for Trump and the GOP till they're elected out. I mean, I think that Okay, this might be my rose-colored glasses. Maybe I'm too high on the hopium, but I think right now the GOP is only ride or die for Donald Trump through these midterms. I think as like Donald Trump continues to be unpopular, continues to nosedive in the polls, continues to push the least popular war America's ever been involved with, and that is getting more and more unpopular. And then he puts out something like this that is going to fucking damage them in the midterms. Like, I think by the time people start announcing for 2028, we're going to start seeing some serious attempts to distance themselves from Trump. And I think that every single one of these elected Republicans is more than willing to throw Trump under the bus if they think it's going to save their political careers. And I do think we will start seeing that after the midterms are over. Because, like, they're going to start looking at him and they're going to be like, well, he's not going to be around forever. He's not going to be in power. He's not going to be president. He's not going to be, like, a relevant force in politics. And they're going to start trying to think of their own futures. But is JD Vance going to change course? No. Well, yeah, no, JD Vance isn't going to change course, but that's because, like, he's so fucking sad these days. I was going to talk about this in the Donald Trump segment of the show, but JD Vance, in the middle of the Iran war, in the middle of like a national crisis, right? In the middle of like a government shutdown, JD Vance is fucking off to Hungary to campaign for Viktor Orban. Like, our vice president is literally going to another country to campaign for a different president because he doesn't want to be here. And he doesn't want to handle this shit. Like, he's so fucking mad about what Donald Trump is doing in Iran and how it's cratering his chances of getting reelected that he's literally fucking off to another country for a full week to stump for Viktor Orban. He's still arguing with people on Twitter. Well, he needs something to do. We're just entering into like a death spiral for the Republican Party, really. Anyway, I've gotten a little bit far afield here, talking about like the U.S. military and what Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are doing with it. But suffice it to say, the consolidation of, white nationalist sentiment within the U.S. military, the attempt to just completely blow through the entirety of the budget of America and put it into the U.S. military, no services, only military. I don't think this is a winning strategy, but it is evidence of like a dying and insane regime. And I do not think it will be able to maintain itself for very much longer. That's why I don't think they're going to ditch Trump. It's a Republican Party problem. They have no solution. They're just going to face huge losses in elections. Yeah, but that's the thing. I think that once they have hit the huge loss mark on a mass scale, the people who remain are going to be very interested in saving their own skin. Because right now, I don't think for Republicans in Washington, their bubble of unreality has been popped. I don't think they're really seeing things with clear eyes. And I think that once they lose, I'm not saying that the fever is going to break and they're going to be like pro-Democrats or anything like that. But I am saying that they are going to be like self-interested enough to try and save themselves. And at a certain point, the Trump brand is so toxic that like they're just going to say, fuck it. You'll get a few more Thomas Masseys, I think. And again, that's not me saying like Thomas Massey's a good guy. It's just, he notably broke from Trump and has not given a damn that Donald Trump is attacking him. Don't you think he's doing this for Netanyahu? No, I don't think so. I think Donald Trump is doing it for himself. Donald Trump is doing what he's doing for Donald Trump. He's never done a damn thing for anybody else that he didn't think served him. Like, I think what he's doing, he genuinely believes is in his own best interest. And like, that might be as simple as he just thought it was going to be Venezuela 2. Everyone's going to praise him. It's going to cement his legacy, blah, 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 blah. I don't think it's blackmail. I don't think it's anything as complicated as that. I don't think it's a big scheme. I don't think it's an op. I think that Donald Trump is just a deeply egomaniacal man who is also stupid as fuck and is very easily flattered and was convinced that, well, we did Venezuela, we could do this, haha. Like, that's it. That's it. I think that's genuinely all it took. And that combined with the fact that he's surrounded by yes men who were just like, of course you can take Iran. You could take Iran in one day. Like, that's it. Like, it doesn't matter to them if, sending soldiers to die on Karg Island or sending soldiers on an insane suicide mission to try and extract uranium from Iran. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck if $10 trillion gets wasted in Iran. They don't give a fuck if 10,000 soldiers die in the effort to do these doomed activities in Iran. They don't give a fuck. It's all to flatter Donald Trump's ego so he can be like, look at me, I'm the biggest and baddest and coolest and smartest guy in the room. Look at me, I'm a birthday boy. Yeah, like Zoran Mamdani walked in, flashed his pearly whites, and like Donald Trump's heart fluttered and skipped a beat. If Zoran Mamdani had like just smiled at him a few more times, we might not be talking about President Donald J. Trump. We might be talking about President J.D. Vance. Even Lord Farquaad thinks this is too much? Yeah. I will say pay attention to what Senator Todd Young, a Republican of Indiana, is doing. Famously hates Trump, but almost never blocks Trump's rule. Young tried to buck Trump once last year, and it went poorly for him, so he went back to serving Trump. Senator Young is the guy who will probably ditch first. Also, Indiana has been shifting bluer drastically in local polls, and Young will be up for election in 2028. That is an excellent identification for canary in the coal mine. Canary in the coal mine. Thank you. I will keep an eye on Todd Young. A lot of the motion post-Trump is not going back to moderate. It's saying Trump did not go hard enough. Yeah, I just think that at some point we're going to see like a collision. I do not think... I think you are right in some ways and wrong in other ways. Because I think that the Christian nationalist contingent that is going to break for someone like Tucker Carlson... they're not moderating in any way against Trump, but I do think they are going to turn against Trump. And I do think that in the process of turning against Trump and radicalizing farther to the right, they are going to alienate more and more voters. It's not a unified motion, is what I'm saying. Anyway, we have gotten so far off topic. Pete Hegseth is a fucking lunatic. Military bases are about to get so much less safe. And also, Pete Hegseth is basically just set into motion the next mass shooting on a military base. There's no other way of saying it, really. Like, we're going to get another mass shooting, and it's going to be directly blood on Pete Hegseth's hands. Well, it will give me no pleasure when that happens to point out this segment and be like, I told you so. This all sucks. This all sucks. Reminder, the Medicaid cuts won't go in until next year. I mean, that's also true, Gamer G. When those Medicaid cuts hit, like, I think Republicans are going to be freaking the fuck out. So, all that being said, folks, you need to organize. We need to organize. We need to organize for the upcoming midterms. We need to organize for 2028. We need to be in the room to decide who the candidates are. We need to be part of those discussions. And you can be part of it by just showing the fuck up to those meetings. Show up to your local Democratic meetings. Show up to your local DSA meetings. Okay? Show up, get to know people, and keep showing up. Being consistent in showing up and volunteering for different posts within the party, for different roles, taking on more responsibility. That is how you can grow your power and influence on the local level. And I encourage you all to do that because that is how we get these corporate fucks out of power. That is how we get these people who have been bought by lobbyists and billionaires out of our party. It is by joining your local party, building up your influence, building up your power, and pushing for pro-working class policies. By organizing with local labor, by getting out there, by doing shit, by protecting your communities. So join your local Dems, join your local DSA. If you don't know where to start or how to do that, you can join our Discord, !Discord in any of the chats. and reach out to Dragonfly for your local Dems, reach out to Gamergy for your local DSA. And if you don't want to join Discord, you can come on over to riverboat.gg. You can find them in this lovely chat over here and ask them questions, and we'll get you signed up to our private Signal chat for DSA organizing or local Dem organizing. We got both. You can be part of this community and also organize on your local level, and we can all trade tips and talk about how to organize better. It's great. It's beautiful. I highly encourage you guys to do so. I would love by 2028 for us to have like a team of over 100 people working on bettering our local working class, pro-working class policies and organizing apparatus. Okay? I'll do it in the morning. Hell yeah, Morpheo. Or Murphio. God, why did I call you Morpheo? Murphio. Anyway, folks. Also, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment longer than 8 words. Really helps in the algorithm. And also, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, non-tucking lingerie that fits and is sexy and elegant. Check it out. We got new styles, sizes, and colors coming in the very near future here. So do check it out. ImogeneOlivia.com. Link down in the description. Let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, being and plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's